Flight Boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon, Flight Boss, the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now I'm gonna break down clearly for everyone to understand clearly the actual creation story. The actual creation story. Because, you know, a lot of people have things messed up nowadays. And the religious and spiritual texts that people cling on to is only half the story. It don't even explain the story. So, as Archangel Uriel, it's my duty and obligation that I choose to do. So, for the most part, let's get into these disclaimers before we get into what you're actually looking at. Now, this is what you need to know. As spirits, we are doing nothing more, nothing less but creating shapes and forms and concepts, thought forms, bodies, worlds, energy, whatever you want to call it. We are not these things. We are the creator, not the creation. So we are creating all these different type of forms to mimic the spirit, and the best form, and we're trying to create the best form that can mimic what the spirit can do. Because us as spirits, right, we got all these dreams, creations, and imaginations, but there's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing to cling on to sustain that dream or reality. So anything that we create is going to be backed and supported by the energy signature of sustaining. Because as spirits, we're trying to sustain our dream or imagination. So we create these bodies, these worlds, these lights, these sounds, these gas, in order to inhabit, to extend our imagination that we could live in as spirits. Now, this is what you need to understand too, because you might get confused going throughout this video like, okay, where does the inner joining of sex come into play? Because people get too lost in the physical and think creating on life just has to do with creating children. No, you create in many different ways. So in this aspect, you need to understand sex. Sex is nothing more, nothing less but the joining of two energies to create another energy. Now, when two energies join together to create another energy, that's sex. Now, when they join together, it can either be harmonious or it could be painful. But anytime two energies join, now how you know it's going to be painful and cause friction if it's two of the same kind of energies. Now, how you know it's going to be relatable or harmonious type of friction, right? That's let you know it's two separate energies. But that's besides the fact. Anytime two energies come together in general, it creates another energy. That's what sex is. Nothing more, nothing less. Stop tying your religious text to the shit. Now, let's get into it. So what are you looking at right now? You're looking at the unknown reality. Now, this is the 3-layer world. Now, the overall, right? Now, I do not know how this world works right here. See what I'm saying? But for the most part, the overall is the 3rd layer, and all its offsprings will be things that look like this, purely shapeless and formless. Now, one of its offsprings, right, is this particular space right here, shapeless and formless space. Now, throughout our times, we gave this many names. At one time, it was called Tiamat. There's another civilization may have called it Gaia, Torah, Yin, Nature, Mother Goddess. But it's truly all pointing to this one particular space. And the moment, we're not going, alright, so let's break this down. I don't want to get into something before we get into something else. But yeah, this is a particular space. And with the offsprings of the all, they're able to run freely through this 3-layer realm. But when they get into their own lower nature, they get into the center space of themselves, to the point that they only think about themselves centrally. So, for the most part, let's break this down even deeper now. Now, with this, right, it shares energies of the overall. So, by it being itself, it's automatically in a space, which this becomes our parameter. This is our parameter. So that's basically all it is. Don't try to give it a deity. Don't try to give it a space and location, which that's all it really is technically. Because we don't know this world. So we just know that this is a force. So, right, and we gave it a lot of different names, but this is the space we are in. This became our parameter. Our parameter. Now, with our parameter, I like to call it the power source. Because our parameter end up being aware of a 360 or its actual energetic signature. So for the most part, it's going to have two sides. once we start to correlate a space. So in this realm, this is how this greater spirit birth lesser spirits. So this is how we come into play now. This is how the lesser spirits come into play. So this is when you are born, and not your physical self, your spirit. Your spirit been here way longer than any shape or form you're taking right now. So as the offsprings of either side, right, of our parameter, which we call Gaia, Tiamat, whatever like that, right? Now her expansion and contraction and how she create is within like a mind space, the realm, whatever like that. So her offsprings is this, and then her offsprings get offsprings, and this is where we come into play. All the lesser spirits. So we know that Pacific, at this point, spirits is this, in our reality now, these things right here are just perceived as concepts, ideas, thoughts, frequencies. The frequency realm. So it's not even an astral realm yet. So for the most part, if you was born from this frequency or this frequency, then that means your spirit is traveling with those line of ideas, those line of thoughts, those line of concepts. You see what I'm saying? And us as spirits is expanding, and we are the body, we are the world, and we are the forms for our parameter. So we extend our parameter, which will be Gaia, Tiamat, Torah, whatever like that. But this is all still the spirit realm. We're just being birthed as spirits right now. So this is all of us. Now, and y'all know what this look like, right? All this together. Now, let's get into it. Now, we get into the concept of our travels. So now as a spirit group, now remember, you was birthed from one of these. So the one you're birthed from, and they all got many leaders and shit. So the one you're birthed from, you're traveling with that group. See what I'm saying? So that's where we get this concept right here. So say we just take one of these. We don't care what direction it went. We're not analyzing was it bad or good or nothing like that. It's just purely a direction right now. So as a spirit, coming from that one greater spirit and being birthed as lesser spirits, this is us. So anytime you see a line, right, that's correlated to one of us. These are spirits. So when you look at all language, all letters that's dealing with this, the lines, all the lines and all the letters, and just the line itself, and one that represents the spirit, and then the roundness, the womb, that represents the 360. That represents the womb or the world or the feminine energy. So the line represents the masculine, the womb represents the feminine. But let's, before we get physical. Now right here, like I say, now we are traveling. So we're all going. So say, for an example, this was that one that we're following. Well, that we're birthed from as a spirit, right? So say this one is that one. So all of us is going to is traveling in that idea and that concept. So this is where you get the concept of spirit group or spirituality, or a overall spiritual concept that a large amount of people can cling on to. But this is us being birthed as a spirit. So you know what I'm saying? This is what we resonate with. This is our line. This is our traveling. So we have, and this is the ladder scale. Some of us may not be ahead as others. Some of us may be more aware of this astral travel than others, but for the most part, we're all on the same travel together. So this person is not allowed to look at this person as stupid. They're the same. It's just they're on different travels on the same traveling, right? So this is spirits, us together. Now, this is where you get soul now. Becoming a soul. So like I said, this is the last page. This is all of us going straight. But here's what end up happening, right? You end up getting certain spirits that end up going their own direction. See what I'm saying? So when you got these down here, these are going their own direction. So like I said, if this was the overall thought concept, the overall spirit, and we the lesser spirits, the lesser concepts, the lesser frequencies, then the ones that end up going on their own path, they end up vibrating. So these frequencies are vibrating. These spirits are going on their own travel. So becoming a soul is nothing but an individual spirit. So if this was our overall spirit, the moment one spirit leave that and have his own idea about the overall individual travel that we're all having, once one spirit have his own idea, is separate, but it's still part of this spirit group, but it separates, divide, which becomes an individual spirit, that's what a soul is. You see what I'm saying? That's what a soul is. So these are souls now, because they having their own individual experience of this spiritual idea travel in general. So they want to go their own way about doing it. You know what I'm saying? So boom. And this is where we're going to end up having the concept of soul group also. Because remember, back on the previous page, right? We all got scattered out. We all was birthed from different spirits and stuff like that. But you're going to have people who was birthed from this spirit who end up having the same ideas that people who was born within this spirit, So if both of those spirit travels got spirits that become individual spirits, which is souls, right? They had the same realization, right? So that means when we get lost, right, we need to find our soul group, because they separated for the same reason we separated from our spiritual travels. You see what I'm saying? So that's where you get the concept of soul group, twin flame, and thing like that. Somebody who was birthed from another spirit might have the same concept and idea as you, right? So they disregarded their travel the same way you disregarded your travel. Once y'all find each other, y'all got something in common. You see what I'm saying? So that's becoming a soul. You know what I'm saying? You have to lose yourself. You have to lose yourself to find yourself, or to find where you really need to be at. Now, once we become souls, right? We all lost ourselves to find ourselves again, right? Now this is all of us. Remember, the lines is the spirits, but since they're on their own travels now, they're individual spirits, so they're souls, right? Now, based upon us having our own travel as spirits now, our own individual idea about our astral travel as spirits, which is becoming souls, right? When one spirit go in a direction different than another spirit, right? You can look at that as a form of differ in ideas, different directions on how to get to a specific point. So trine sextile oppositions let us know if we're going in the same direction or not. But this is how we end up creating space between each other, because your travel may be different than my individual travel. So your spirit may be different than my spirit, so your soul vibrate in another direction different than mine. So this creates space between us because we're relative to each other. So this space, when we're traveling, this space creates vortex. And the information that's in that vortex is the energy we put into that location, which is that space. So for an example, you as a spirit going that way and me as a spirit going this way, the energy we created in that space has a certain energy signature. For an example, if you got an idea about something and I got an idea about something, right? Now we created a world. Now within that world, right, I might got an idea about it, you might got an idea about it. That might be different from each other, but we can either add on to it or separate from it. But what's actually going on in the spirit realm is that's creating space between us, because separate views, separate directions, but that space that we created when we was going in separate directions is still there. That energy is still there. So when other spirits going across that space and when we could continue to go over that space, we sense the energy that's vortexing and migrating in that space. And what was migrating in that space is whatever we was discussing. If it was a negative energy or was it a positive energy, that vortex is still going there. Now, based upon your idea about that negative or positive energy and someone else's, when we travel along that same space and play out those same characteristics, we play out that energy in our own way, which adds to the space, add more color, add more. And this is where you get the creation of the rainbow waters, the premortal waters. This is the creation of space. So all the colors together from you being a small perception of where you at right now, just perceive as all dark, but it's all black. But really it's just you're not in that to perceive it from a each Pacific of it to separate it. You see what I'm saying? So this is how we created the space in the rainbow waters. Now remind you, this is still non-physical with us. Now let's go us as spirits. Now see, like we're traveling, let's travel in these spaces that we're creating with each other, because remember, we keep going into these spaces and we keep adding on to it. Now once we keep being relative to each other in rotation, that space keep adding more energy, more weight, more dense, to the point that us as spirits, out of all our interactions, right, this space start becoming a shape or a form, because we start understanding it, and we start understanding the pattern, we keep patterning. It's like a pattern. We keep going over that same space and location again. Keep playing out that same energy, just in different ways based upon our travel that day and our direction on how we went across that energy signature the time that we did it again and again. You see what I'm saying? And over again, we start creating shape and form shape and form start getting created out of that rainbow water. For an example, this is how we create a space, and you can pick up the sense on someone, but that could become so dense that it could actually become something physical out of that, which would just be a reality which y'all think is real or realistic, which really is just a real dream. So, you know, out of all our interactions, us as spirits, right, we interact with that space for so much that it start taking shape and form. So anytime something is added, that adds weight and density, and it gets brought down, and it can take shape and form. So this is the creation of the energy physical realm. Like I said, as spirits, we created this space. We created this realm that all imaginations is possible, of the rainbow waters and the shapeless and formless. You see what I'm saying? We created this with our imagination and dreams as spirits. Now we're going to get to non-physical to physical, because in this creation, all things, all shapes and forms that come out of this creation is gas, sound, light, and things that we can perceive in the realm of reality as best we can. So I like to call all those stars or brains. I like to call gas, sound, light just a different shape and form of a star or a brain, you know, whatever y'all want to call it. Now, this is the physical world, the energy world. Now, us as spirits, right, we're looking at everything we created. Now, see, these are different shapes, forms. So you could call these gas, lights, sounds, bodies, worlds, whatever you want to call it. These is what we created. Minds, whatever you want to call it. This is what we created. This is what came about out of the shapeless and formless realm, the rainbow waters, the premortal waters, and things of that nature. Now, as spirits, we got question marks, because look, we created all this, and all this became our space. Now, within that physical world, which we created from everything from non-physical to physical, that's the type of science we put behind it, the technology we put behind it, so we can experience our dreams within time. So now here's what happens. We're looking at, as spirits, we're looking at all this, all what we created. Now all what we created as far as light, sound, gases is bouncing off each other, which creates a realm. It creates a realm, and this realm, based upon the pattern, the rotation, the location of each light or gas or star or pattern, each space and location, the angling between each other overall creates an aspect. See, when you look at each one individual, all of them together is creating what you will see as a big star. You see what I'm saying? But it's truly just everything to the lights and forms relating to each other in the way that they're relating, but how they're overall relating is creating a bigger concept, a bigger aspect. So that would be what we perceive as this. So now, once we get into that, this is the stars, brains, and the interaction. Now, us as spirits, this is us right here as spirits. Remember the lines. Us as spirits, we end up taking on each one of those shapes and forms, right? So boom, we awaken one of those shapes and forms. So now those shapes and forms, whether it's light, sound, or gas, now they got eyeballs. Now they got question marks on the top of their head. And remind you, look, they all got different expressions. They all got different expressions, because us as spirits don't have no shape and form like God, right? But when we take on one of our creations, take on a shape and form, we're able to express our nature through that shape and form. So this spirit was a happy one. This spirit was a confused one. This spirit was a sarcastic one. This spirit was a lost one. You see what I'm saying? The spirit that went into this one is expressing unsureness. This one is expressing confusedness. This one is up to something. This one got motherfucking guns. Yeah, so this is an angry spirit. You see what I'm saying? So we know the characteristics of that spirit based upon the shape and form that is in, and the energy, and which is energy, and whatever energy is given off, aka light, and how much energy is putting into things, which is how much is vibrating, is going to show us what kind of spirit is in that shape and form. See what I'm saying? Now, so this is all of us interacting and experiencing this realm of reality that we created But we all got our own perception, our own mood within it once we start to inhabit those shapes and forms, aka everything is about birth. So birth is transformation. So when you hear life and death, that ain't nothing but transformation. So you're always being born. You're always being born. Now, here's what happens. After we took all that, right, we do that process all over again, and what's created from that? See what I'm saying? Look, we do this process all over again. We did that. We inhabit the stars, and we experience in this realm of reality. So once we inhabit these stars as spirits in this realm of reality, the way they was relating and angling, right, is when we jumped into these bodies as spirits, we're going to see ourselves as the way it was angling, and it was angling as in what is this is. See what I'm saying? You see how I'm putting it together? Boom. All the stars of the shapes and forms we created was angling in a certain way. From an overall perspective, this is how a relationship would appear that they're all having. Then boom, the denser form of that is that. So now, as us being all these stars, right? This is what we created as a more or less dense form or a longer form of existence for our experiences. So this will be the first cell. So any form of cell, whether there's a nucleus, blood cell, whatever you want to call it, this is the first man. So first mankind, which I want to call atom or whatever like that, that was the first atom. First cell. They're not talking about where you at today. They talk about where you came. You got to know where you at today. You got to know where you're from to know where you're going. So this is the first cell, the first physical light and fluid right here. This is the first physical light and fluid or whatever and that y'all want to perceive. First dense light, the dense light that may not cause reflection, but it causes a form of fluid or wave, right? So it's still sleep. So up here, this is us still, right? So now, think about it like this now. To inhabit that, now look, this is us as the star, right? Now, we correlate with the shapes and forms to inhabit based upon our resonation. So for an example, let's go back to the spirit travel. Now mind you, when we was traveling us as spirits, right? Now this is how we determine male and female and who have certain ideas based upon ourselves. Because for an example, if I'm this spirit and I'm traveling right here, right? Then just by nature, if you a spirit right next to me and it's a spirit right next to me, if I'm on this side based upon my position, you may correlate to your position differently. So when we go into realms of realities, that might actually play out as you physically taking the representation of a right side of an energy and I take the left side of an energy. So we might take the physical form of a physical version of a male or a physical version of a female. You see what I'm saying? But it's truly not that when we here in the spirit realm. It's just truly how we're relating to each other wherever we're going as an astral travel. You see what I'm saying? So going back to this, that's like I said right now, as a star, right? Now say based upon us rotating in this form now as spirits, so we already taken this form and possess this. Say I'm rotating in this type of way, right? So I know that look like a triangle, but this is an example. It's just an energy signature at this state that we're in right now. So this might just be my rotation. So this is what I'm familiar with as far as an energy signature. So this is what I'm going to resonate with. So once I die, separate from this shape and form, right, as a spirit, boom, I leave, and I'm going to resonate with that type of energy. So everything that a triangle carry as far as an energy signature, that's what I'm going to resonate with as far as a physical shape or as far as what it do in the mental or metaphysically. So down here, right, the blood cell or the cell, the first form of cell that we create, the one that take that shape, that kind of correlate with that shape and form, I will be able to inhabit that as a spirit and see that as a light and resonate with it and go in it. Then experience that realm of reality through that concept. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just giving y'all an idea how to understand. So once you understand that realm, now you're in a cell as a spirit. Now you can understand and develop all the information that this realm of reality that we have created for ourselves. Then here's another process, right? Now as you being a cell, right, an organism, you die once again, and as a spirit, you leave, because you always being birth. So dying is nothing but birth, transformation. So boom, as a spirit, you leave that cell, and that cell can be utilized as something else within wherever we at, and then you go develop a stronger cell. You know what I'm saying? Or organ, or what they call to be born again. You know what I'm saying? But we're not being born again under somebody else's way of reaching the egg. We're talking about our own way right now. So you go into a stronger cell or organ or whatever like that as a spirit, and then you experience that world until you gain enough information to develop a bigger vehicle that can mimic the spirit, right? And then we do all that until we get to this guy right here. I drew this. Until we get to this guy right here, right? Now, this guy right here is what we created. Now, this could be man or woman. I just drew a man-like figure, but this is what we created. This is our outside world. As above, so below. You know, we created a bigger world. So to be born, so this is the universe that we created. So to be born out of this, what we created. All right, sorry about that. My camera died. Now, for the most part, this is what we're speaking about right now. So this is what we have created, right? So to be born out into this being right here, right? Now this is the form. This is what we created. This is the universe. Now it could be male or female. I just created a man, but this is what we created outside of ourselves. So for the most part, this is the form of reaching the egg and everything. Now at this concept right now, this is where we at in today's time. So to be birthed out in the world, in the bigger world that we have created, we have to become the totality of this person. So like I said, you bring this process when we was talking about the blood cells and things of that nature, or we were cells and stars. All that is inside this what we created. So we're all inside this. And outside of this is an extended parameter. Now, to be birthed outside of that world, you have to become the totality of this being. So everything in the head space, everything in this space, every organ in this space, all the way down to you become the totality, and you understand. So for an example, when we think about things like Lucifer, now reaching the egg in our realm of reality right now will be things like people who created the language, people who created certain laws, governments, people who created certain things. So whether you look at them as right or wrong, they figured out and developed the way how they could reach the aid to get to the next level of life that we are in right now. But when you look at certain spirits like Lucifer have figured out in so many aspects on how to reach the egg into the overall God's world, as far as this overall parameter. Or maybe Lucifer may just be on a layer before that, but this world is, I can't say. But for the most part, Lucifer itself, motherfucker, found out a way how to become the totality, because this is what you need to understand. You're in the third dimension. So as far as you being a spirit, you was birthed in the zero realm. Then you came into the one-dimensional realm, which is as far as the first form of gas, light, or sound. And then once you individualized yourself, you became a soul. So you end up being able to vibrate and resonate, which is the second dimension. Then your soul creates another form of body that can mimic the spirit the best, because it's going to tether between the spirit and the physical realm, which is the third dimension. So the third dimension is all the shapes and forms and lights and gas that you inhabit as a soul, and make these things be a shape and form the way that you thought about it in your shapeless and formless realm as you being a soul. So this is you being a third dimension. So everything you see as a moving vessel in the third dimension has a soul, whether it's a small or large one, that's besides the fact. In this third dimension, all blood cells that you can inhabit in this third dimension is things that you see as animals, bugs, humans, and things, and that's going to tell you what evolutionary scale and how much information your spiritual soul has, depending on what kind of body you are in and what energy you are pushing out within that form, within that body, right? Now, the fourth, fifth, and now, all those become as one and happen simultaneously. So then you're on the next path, which is the fourth dimension, fifth, and sixth dimension. The fourth dimension will be like a oversoul. The fifth dimension will be like a planet. The sixth dimension will be like a sun. So the oversoul will be like you becoming a spirit on a higher level of, again, which you become an overall concept or idea, right? Then you get your information from planets or spirits that been here before you, which is larger planets, right? But for the most part, You're trying to become a planet. So all this developing and this information and you being an oversoul, once you eat enough blood, aka eat enough information and concept from the souls of the lesser life below you, based upon people like us in this thought form, third dimension, going on a particular concept that was created by a particular being that may not be here anymore. Now, for the most part, that's a spirit or oversoul. Now, the more people who are cleaned up into that concept and play out that duty and obligation down here in physical form, in the fourth dimension as an oversoul, this gives them power. This how they eat and drink blood. This is their blood, and this is what able for them to take shape and form again, or to create another shape and form to go into. And this what allows them to ascend to the fifth dimensional being, which is a planet, and then the planet has to rotate and revolve and be a good follower to a being that may have did that same energy before them, to become a star, which is a sun. And a planet have to learn how to correlate both of their energies and make them one, which is feminine and masculine. And the more they know how to balance it with one and not choose one side, they can end up becoming a more mass and source, and they can create their own rotation, and then they could become a sun to the point that they have followers. So for the most part, then that's the sun, and that's the sixth dimensional being. Then once you end up becoming a sun, you understand that the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension happen simultaneously. So like, just look at it like you becoming a spirit, fourth dimension, you being birthed, and you being a baby and growing up as a planet, and once you develop enough information, you become a star. That's sixth dimensional. Boom. Now once you leave that 1, 2, 3 level of life, you get to the last 1, 2, 3 level of life, which is ultimately, they are 9, but it's really just 1, 2, 3. Now this is the 7, 8, and 9. Now the 7, 8, and 9, once you become a sun and become aware, you can awaken a bigger body and inhabit more bodies and create a bigger brain, which you could become a solar system now. Right? So now you could take on more bodies as just that one sun and control the rotation of other bodies, and to the point you awaken yourself and create a bigger brain to the point that you think that's all you. And you have the same way you now, you got a mind, but you think your hands and feet and all that is you also. That'd be the same way how the sun look at it once it become a solar system. Right? Now, the solar system, right, once it develop all the information and die in between there, it goes on to the process of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It do that process again, 7, 8, 9. So as a solar system, you become that true spirit again as a whole from another realm of reality, but then you're looking for another body, which is another body is a galaxy. Now once that galaxy, that becomes an eighth dimension, right? Now that's another a higher form of a body again, a womb, a world, a galaxy. So that's another womb that you're trying to get in and then once you understand that, once you suck up all the other galaxies, aka receive all the information and become the totality of information of the realm that you are in, you become the universe, which is 9, right? Then once you become the universe, you have became the whole totality of this being, which is a universe. Then once you die from that, and how it would play out, this is how you have children. Your children became the whole totality of you. So you might have had an idea or thought or concept in your head, right? And as a spirit, as a young spirit, it resonate with the same idea of the astral travel of your child. So once boom, once y'all connected and channeled, your child is in your mind now. Now your child could dictate your mind, have you keep doing that, turn it into a habit. Now the more you do that and turn it into a habit, right? Now that's your child dying and transforming and birthing and living and becoming more and more blood cells, stronger and stronger blood cells, to the point that your child became a leader and having other blood cells follow it, because the rest of your body that don't really want to do that habit that you created, they end up falling short and creating justifications for why you should do that habit, right? Even if it's hurting you or not. That's really just your child being a leader and all your other blood cells following that child. Now once your child die in a sin or digress, it becomes a bigger cell all the way to it can become a sperm cell. Now that's when it became the totality of you. Now once you birth that out, you birth that into the other world, which is to the feminine energy of the world, and then that's where your child can develop and create another body that can sustain itself in the world that it was actually in. Then your child get birthed out into the actual world, the bigger world. You see what I'm saying? To the point that this is when you have to understand that it's always about being birthed. All religions, all texts and things of that nature is about dying and life and death. That's nothing but transformation, birth. That's all that is. So don't be scared to die, because you just die. That don't mean nothing but you being born again somewhere else. Now, what's on your mind when you die is the realm of reality you're going to be born into. And the parents you're going to have and everything else that follow behind that. And the spirits that you carrying with yourself now, the same spirits you're going to be, the energy signatures you're going to be carrying with yourself in the next motherfucking life. So just think about all the things that you might be scared of, that you might be doubt. The next level of life is more powerful. So you really going to be, you think you scared now, you really going to be scared. So don't be developing no motherfucking masters for yourself in this life that you gonna be really scared of in the next fucking life, because these masters don't really give a fuck about you. They just give a fuck about themselves. And if you're gonna be gullible enough to give them your power, then that's your spiritual fault, and ain't nobody but your own. You put yourself in hell. So for the most part, that's why I like to look at this person right here as a person who didn't created their own self. I mean, they didn't create it their own way to reach the egg. And then you just got a bunch of followers thinking that these are the only examples that we got to reach eggs, which is this other spirits. You could develop your own way to reach the egg. You don't necessarily even have to get birthed out into the realm of reality everybody else is trying to follow anyway, which is just they scared to die and they trying to sustain life. That ain't nothing but them following this motherfucker, which there's many different realms of realities, many different birth processes, many different every fucking thing. That's what you need to understand. But that is the actual origin story. That is the actual creation story. So y'all could go throw y'all Bibles away. Y'all could go throw y'all spiritual systems away. I was even watching one debate where it was some Arab shamans, or they like to meditate and stuff, and they were saying things like, now they was arguing. Let me switch this around. Now look, they was arguing with somebody, right? Let's see. I ain't got the setup, but look, check this out. They was arguing with somebody to now the people that was arguing with they wasn't really atheists, they was theists, but they was trying to state their claim. But what they was arguing was the fact that what everybody else think is God is. Now the Hindu people, they was a little more smarter, but they was dumb too compared to Archangel Uriel. But listen, they was a little bit smarter than them, because what they was trying to describe God, they was trying to say, well, don't argue us like we're trying to say religion is better for the world. We're trying to say God is simply consciousness. So whatever your idea of trying to say why we don't need God, that's your fault that you got that concept of God in your head. We're trying to say God is consciousness. Now God meets consciousness meets the attributes of shapeless and formless, being non-movable, and being able to interact with everything, while everything is just being a piece of it. So this was their argument. But see, their argument is still flawed, because here's the thing: when you're talking to Archangel Uriel, I don't care how you could be a 97-year-old Hindu guru, and your ass ain't got shit on my spirit. Now check this out. Here's the motherfucking thing. There's actual examples in the world that we could point to where people are totally unconscious. Now this is what you need to understand. Conscious is nothing but the ability to be aware. This is why we even attach it to the word aware, to be consciously aware. So to be consciously aware is just your awareness. So you have some people who have high conscious levels. Their ability to be aware is more developed than yours. You might be in a relationship where you're getting cheated on, but you are unaware of that. And if you have a friend around you who are high in consciousness, they may be aware of more things than you. So they can tell you certain actions that your partner is having that correlate to a person that may be cheating. You see what I'm saying? Then you have people who are vibrating low consciously. This is people who are unaware, so they may be naive or gullible because they are unaware of their surroundings and how to participate in the surroundings. So that's what your conscious level is. Your conscious level is nothing more, nothing less but your ability to be aware. Now your spirit is going to tell you how much you are aware, because you could be a person who's vibrating low consciously based upon the people, places, and things you are around, and the location you are in, and the things that you are forced to do. You could have a very low conscious level, right? But say your spirit, say you are a person who naturally have a high spirit, but you're in a shape and form experiencing low conscious level. You just a person who got a bunch of good ideas on how to do a bunch of negative shit. You see what I'm saying? Now you could be a person who got high consciousness, right? But you in low spirits. So you are a person who is consciously aware of a bunch of shit, but you always got negative ideas about what you're consciously aware of. So you might be consciously aware of when somebody trying to help you, but by you being a negative spirit, you push them away. So it goes in many different ways. That's what you need to understand. So consciousness should never, ever be conflated with God. You see what I'm saying? But I understand what they was trying to say. And this, based upon that argument itself, they won that argument. But if there was any kind of real discussion with any kind of real spirit, which I might be the only one, they will fall short, because there's examples every day that we could point to of people being not being consciously aware of certain things in their life. So off the bat, that means consciousness, whatever you trying to pinpoint that to, is carrying the energy signature of lacking. And if we're going to tie the energy signature of the word God to all omnipotence and all powerful, then consciousness itself has limitations. I just pointed it out for you. So any shape or form that has any type of limitation to it is just a form to extend the parameter, but it's not the overall parameter, and which is God is. God is a parameter, and once you try to go over that parameter, you would transform your ass. But that transformation, as a spirit, you would go back and develop another body that can go past that parameter that transformed you previously. And this is how we extend the parameter. So death, life and death, that's what y'all would think that is, for an but for the most part, that's not what it is. It's just transformation. So all y'all moralities and ideas and concepts that y'all put on it is just mental cages, mental spiritual cages. Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air.